Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Space Weather. Things are calming down here. A reduction in solar activity, reduction in sunspots, a reduction in volcanic activity. We'll cover that and lots more. Coronagraphs and your full Daily Space Weather, as you may have become used to. This is colorized magnetogram and 171 angstroms from SDO. We only saw one C-class flare over the past 24 hours, and it came from this sunspot up here, whatever it's called. To quote Einstein, never memorize something you can look up. Here's our colorized magnetogram. Some active regions just rose here in the east. None of those appear to be sunspots, at least as of yet. Let's take a look at volcanoes briefly. It looks like the Fagradalsfjall eruption may have stopped. Lava fountaining has ceased, and it's been reduced to mainly outgassing. So, also volcanic tremor has rapidly dropped. The research team from the University of Iceland considers the end of the eruption is likely coming soon. Subanosejima continues to erupt, though, producing an unknown volcanic ash cloud. It's exploded at 0 dark 40 Universal Time this morning. Mount Ibu exploding as well. 7,000-foot ash plume from Mount Ibu. In Colombia, Nevado del Ruiz exploding. Flight level 210. It's a 21,000-foot ash plume. 20,000-foot ash plume over Sangay in Ecuador as it explodes. And Sabancaya also exploding. 24,000-foot ash plume from there. Don't pole vault the caldera. Next, looking at global seismicity. There's your 90-day bar graph. And you can see only 2 7-magnitude quakes over the past 90 days. Largest quake of the past 24 was a 5.5 in Ecuador. Besides that, quite calm. A low number of quakes and no large quakes. Most of the largest quakes only in the 4 magnitude range. Let us know if we've missed anything on the list in the comments section. That 5.5 occurred at 10:28 Universal Time this morning. And right as we did show prep, that 5.5 happened. Getting back to space, here's some more imagery of the closest star. This is the last 24 hours in our house favorite wavelength, 171 angstroms. Again, these active regions over here are not sunspots, at least not yet. The most activity came from this sunspot group right here, only in the form of a C-class flare. Here's some coronagraph imagery, and there were some minor coronal mass ejections. Don't be surprised to see additional coronal mass ejections, and we are expecting another CME strike early in the morning tomorrow, Universal Time. NOAA tends to agree with us on that. The radial flux all the way down to 105 solar flux units now. There is the 1-year chart of that. 102 solar flux units. So that's the 1-year chart, this black line. There's a space weather enthusiast dashboard expecting geomagnetic storm and geomagnetic unrest conditions tomorrow, and some more on Tuesday as well. So additional CME impacts, coronal mass ejection impacts. We do also see a continued elevated solar wind speed here from coronal hole high-speed streams. Here's the earthly geospace over the past 4 hours. Magnetohydrodynamic pressure nanopascals are modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. It's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. The scale here, nanotesla magnetic flux density. And things are mostly geomagnetically calm. Planetary K index only at 2. Following a brief period of geomagnetic unrest last night, We never really got the geomagnetic storm conditions we expected today. Maybe those will show up a little later than expected. Again, we are expecting more geomagnetic storm conditions early in the day tomorrow. Moving to the real-time solar wind, again, we do have an elevated solar wind speed. It made it all the way up to about 630 kilometers per second yesterday. Current conditions are about 556 kilometers per second. Solar wind density about 8 protons per cubic centimeter. There are your GOES magnetometers for the past 3 days. Showing some quite low readings here at midnight local time for the satellites. That's what these M's stand for. That's midnight local time for the GOES 16 and GOES 17. This is noon local time, giving you some insight into where they're located in their geosynchronous near equatorial orbits. And as far as the heliospheric current sheet goes, Earth remains in a south pole current sheet for the foreseeable future. And a large portion of the south solar polar field, most of the south solar polar field, currently pointed toward Earth. Looking down the barrel of a pole, son of a pole, son of a hole. Coronal holes are the next feature on the video. Before we get to more SDO imagery, let's pause for station identification. This is the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. So this is your coronal hole line of sight plot. It shows the sun's B field in blue. And again, most of the sun's south solar polar field oriented toward the Earth at the moment. North solar polar field around the North Pole and on the opposite side of the sun. Here's some imagery in 211 angstroms from SDO. Another significant coronal hole system here rotating in. We can expect a high-speed wind from that in another about 3 days. That's the last 24 hours from SDO, and let's move on to sunspots. Likelihood of flares, not all that high. And the main flare location was from this sunspot right here. And here's your solar continuum from SDO. A number of groups remain here. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3. We have like 5 named sunspot groups. And there still is some potential for a large flare from this setting group down here, sunspot 3078. Here's your magnetogram. And these recently risen areas over here, they were not sunspots when we did show prep. Let's also show the 1700 angstroms wavelength full disk view. And then let's move on to solar flaring. Largest flare came this morning for the past 24 hours. It was a C 2.99 class flare. It happened at 4:50 was peak flux. 4:50 universal time today, Sunday, August 21st. And here's a full disk image in 94 angstroms for the past 24 hours. And keep your eye on this area right here. That is where those X-rays came from. It didn't send any relativistic particles to Earth. The GOES proton flux remains flatlined. And here's a star chart. We like our viewers to be oriented. If you're up before dawn, you may see Venus, the Moon, Mars, and Jupiter, all near the ecliptic, as the sun rose over Lehigh Valley. Here's your solar system forecast. This is where things are now. Mercury's swinging around to our side of the solar system as Venus is getting a little lonely on the unpopulated side of the solar system. Here's where things will be in a week. We will have a crescent waxing moon by then, following the next new moon. Next, some coronagraphs. This is yesterday's imagery. And there were indeed some coronal mass ejections. We don't believe any of those are earthly directed. And here are today's coronagraph images so far. And we'll show some additional limited imagery from stereo A located here at Lagrange point 5, and some more from the Soho-Lasco C3 here at Lagrange point 1. So unfortunately a bunch of missing data there. We've got about 5 hours of missing data there. Quite a lot of missing data there from stereo A. Soho-Lasco C3 showing the coast pretty much clear there. Not a lot of CME activity, although the potential is certainly there. There are a lot of filaments in the northern hemisphere. So here's the last 24 hours. Approximately the last 24 hours. There is actually a CME propagating there at the end of that video. We'll have to keep an eye on that to see its direction. It looks like it's off to the southwest. Again, lots of filaments in the northern hemisphere. You can see all these dark regions up here. Those absorption features are filaments. It's the same feature as these prominences that you can see hanging off the limb. They're just hanging off the Earth-facing portion in between the sun and you. And those, of course, have the potential to become coronal mass ejections. Here's the last about 2.5 hours in ionized helium from the GOES 16 SUVI with its great wide field of view. A little lower resolution than the SDO. Some activity up here. Perhaps ejecting. Or is it splashing back down? Here's 24 hours from SDO, a little higher resolution and a lower field of view. And that means that it is time for our bonus features. So the Satellites Community Dashboard is where we're headed next. Some minor charging hazards here on the surfaces of satellites from low-energy electrons building up on them. Those are located in the central Pacific Ocean. They're minor in scope. GOES electron flux here, toying with warning levels once again. That's the last 3 days from the GOES 16 and GOES 17's measurements. Here is the relativistic electron forecast model from NOAA, forecasting fairly flat levels of relativistic electrons. There's your 1-year chart from Solon.info, and we'll look at the F ionosphere next. Feel free to pause the video on this frame if you're not familiar with the penetration of electromagnetic radiation, the temperature and concentration of molecules in the thermosphere, etc., the different layers of the atmosphere, and so on. Here's the vibrational frequency at the bridge between Earth and space. And here's the anomalygram. By the way, if you want to mess with this data, there are different anomalygrams you can use. You can use anomaly from the 30-day median, the difference in percentage from yesterday, the difference in megahertz from yesterday, or anomaly percentage from the 30-day median, or the plain anomaly map. We like anomaly from the 30-day median. Remember, folks, we're almost in the month of September, the most geomagnetically active month of the entire year, historically speaking. There's the latest image, 11:30 Universal Time. ionogram. There's the latest image universal time, 11:30. Anomalygram. Next, the total electron content forecast. It's going to show you all the free electrons in between your GPS satellite and your handset. And GPS errors here are kind of low at the moment. Seeing kind of low electron contents. And most of those electrons are fairly organized around the equator at noon, where you would expect them to be. Again, the total electron content forecast shows you the most likely places for GPS errors. And feel free to pause the video on this frame if you like. Distances shown here in miles to things like the Van Allen probes, the SDO, GPS satellites, the Van Allen belts, etc. So here's the latest intensitygram and latest colorized magnetogram. And again, not a sunspot. Also not a sunspot. So sunspot number dropping here. Solar activity dropping a bit. Potential for CME is still quite high. Most likely place to see flares is around the western limb. And let's take up one more series of images from SDO before we move to the realm of meteorology. So here's some composite imagery, 304, 211, and 171 angstroms. Now meteorology. Looking at some hot water here in the Gulf. Check it out, 86.7 degrees. And some flooding expected in Texas. We'll get to the forecast in a moment. That is the sea surface temperature. Although it's not really very anomalous, there's the sea surface temperature anomaly. It's normal for the Gulf to have hot water in it at the end of summer. There is some anomalously hot water in the North Atlantic and in Baffin Bay. Anomalously cold water in Lake Superior. Anomalously warm water in Lake Huron. There's the Pacific. If you're wondering what the sea surface temperature anomalies are in the Pacific, I would remind you that sea surface temperature doesn't tell us very much about the deep water, only what's going on the surface. Let's get to our regularly scheduled wind maps. There are the surface winds of the eastern world. Shout out to our viewers from all around the planet. Thanks for tuning in, and congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. Here are the jet streams of the east side. Here are the jet streams of the west side, the Americas. Funky jet streams there over the Gulf of Mexico, blowing to the southwest, and some chaotic jet streams over the North Atlantic, as well as over North America. Some cold Canadian air being pushed down into places like North Dakota, Montana, Michigan, Wisconsin, etc. There are surface winds of this side of the planet. Here are surface winds of the central world. And there are the jet streams of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. So here's your little invitation to join us on Twitter. Twitter.com/smashamash. As we approach, will you be our 300th follower on Twitter? Wow, we're almost at 300 followers. It's amazing. We're also on Twitch, twitch.tv/smashamash. Thanks to everybody on YouTube. And I would remind you that we're paid just this side of nothing to put the content on YouTube. So please support the channel with a like, a share, a comment, etc. The Smash News Network, these busted name of news, must be citing too many facts to have more than 2.53K subs. Support the channel via a subscription at the gold or silver level, perhaps at the smashomash.com/smash team site. And gold and silver Smash Team members receive a little bit extra from everybody else. Things like the AGDEX daily reports. Thanks to gold and silver Smash Team members, visit the links on the homepage and welcome to the Neo Renaissance as we plausibly explain the mechanism underlying the solar sunspot and solar polar field reversal cycles. We need your assistance to continue to make these videos, make them publicly visible and free for all to view. So help us out with that, and help yourself out by clicking this link here at SureMed and become a member of the American Better Health Organization. Improve your health with all kinds of conveniences and discounts. Discounts on vitamins, labs, MRI and CT scans. There's a retail and mail order pharmacy. Those are all benefits just of the base membership at SureMed. Visit my link to sign up today and improve your health with the American Better Health Organization. Support the channel and give Smash staff a raise by picking up some merch, perhaps. These are our items in order of best selling. And today's featured product is Mensa, Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you. I'm wearing the hat. Make Earth Not Suck Again. Thanks to all of our viewers who've been making Earth not suck again and understanding basic facts, whether controversial or not. Again, it's up to you to make Earth not suck again. There are some of the products offered. Links below the video and on the homepage at smashomash.com to our merch shop. Start a conversation. Tell your friends and foes about us. The print quality is very high. And to quote Churchill, if you're going through hell, keep going. By the way, our finest days lie ahead. Another word of wisdom, your strength comes from within. Here's your weather.gov map. Again, flooding forecasted here for the southern U.S. And it looks like the weather.gov map is off a little bit, but if your county is lit, click your county. It's looking pretty foggy southwest of the Great Lakes. Here's your total accumulated precipitation forecast. And there are some areas there expecting like 6 inches of rain in northeastern Texas. That's your GFS 72-hour total accumulated precipitation forecast. Precipitation totals shown here in inches. And let's continue on. Going to check the snow depth around the planet, as somebody commented on Twitter that the ice caps are gone. I guess they're gone except for at the poles and at Greenland, because it looks pretty snowy. I mean, ooh, this area here, oh my God, it's only got 23 inches of snow. This area here, 139 inches, more than 5 meters of snow on top of sea ice in that area. Okay. And let's check Greenland. Uh-oh, oh my God. We're gonna die. Only 0 inches of snow in this area. Let's check the southern tip, just the tip. Oh, look at that. There's no snow right there, folks. Greenland is melting. Of course, this area has more than 5 meters, and so on and so forth. It's the end of summer. Greenland has not melted. That's your snow depth from windy.com. Next, our NASA GOES lightning mapper. And there is some precipitation moving through Pennsylvania at the moment. Will you be able to get your bike ride in today? We'll show you the radar momentarily. First, a real-time lightning map. And before that, once again, welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Here's your real-time lightning map from lightningmaps.org. Eastern Europe seeing some lightning, as well as some terrestrial strikes, looks like in Pennsylvania. Hey, Pittsburgh, there's thunder rolling in. You are surrounded by lightning cells. And it looks like some additional cells here moving in from the west. Next, your radar.weather.gov map, which is sometimes animated and sometimes not, because reasons. Let's press refresh one more time and see what happens. Yeah, great. Here is your 3.9 nanometer satellite map. It shows clouds and fog. It's too dark over half the country to show the visible satellite. So we use shortwave radiation. Here is your water vapor map. And a bunch of moisture swirling around Texas there. And the Carolinas, especially North Carolina. Here's your recap. Let's try one more time. And there's your US Doppler radar, which is kind of animated. Okay. There is your shortwave radiation map. And there is your water vapor map, and you can see there is an impulse here from this dry mass of air. So this dry mass of air is kind of pushing its way down here to the southeast, causing huge pressure gradients over places like Kentucky at the moment, also moving into Ohio. So it's going to be pushing that moisture to the east. And that is where we need to end the video. So thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists, and may that solar wind be at your back.